Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the horror show. I am Jaime En Fuego, here to present a special encore presentation that originally in 2015 was seen on my then YouTube channel, Jaime En Fuego, which was for a program called ENFUEGOTAINMENT that is in the process of a relaunch. But we thought that for the month of October, the best thing that we could do was bring the entire series coverage of the 1980s and 90s Tales from the Crypt HBO television show over to the horror show, show it to a larger audience so that they can appreciate all of the hard work. Man, did I bust my ass for that month or so, getting every single one of the 93 episodes done and reviewed and spoken about. We did a little of my little trope at the time, which was Bueno, Malo, Feo, which is a good episode, a bad episode, and an ugly episode. I am taking these 3 at a time, and then also a special 3-episode final edition covering all 3 of the films. Yes, there are in fact 3 films. So join me here as we jump into a little bit of a horrific relic that I am very proud to show all of you guys. So until next time, stay scared. Greetings and frightutations, my fans of scarific awesomeness. This is Jaime En Fuego for the 25th installment of my Tales from the Crypt coverage in the month of October. Man, it has been a relentless bit of it. This is, the 6th season that we are in the midst of here, and I've basically been going Bueno, Malo, and Feo for, 3 episodes of Tales from the Crypt at the time, and there's, 93 episodes of Tales from the Crypt, and with 31 days in the month of October, it only seemed fitting to just cover the entire series because it is one of my absolute favorites. That's right, guys. And so, let's get right into some coverage here in Season 6, the Bueno episode, because I always do the Bueno, the Malo, and the Feo, the good, the bad, and the ugly here on ENFUEGOTAINMENT, where I cover the hottest entertainment with an edge when I'm not on the horror show and heavy metal television. And this one is called Stairway to Horror. Yeah, is that kind of a play on Stairway to Heaven? I don't know, I would imagine as much, but, on second thought, it's actually called Staired to Horror, but you know what? I like my title better. Sorry, guys. Probably because this was originally written long before, Led Zeppelin ever put that song into the public consciousness. So there you go. I'm going to call this Stairway to Horror instead. I gotta say, this is one of those installments in the show where, once again, it was kind of tough to pick a real leader of the pack of these 3 episodes as one that was just really a home run. And this one was not a home run, but you know what? I had to give it the Bueno distinction, the good distinction, because of the fact that it really has 2 stellar performances in it, And first and foremost, you got to mention Mr. D.B. Sweeney, who's basically this dude who is on the loose, like right off the bat. It immediately just jumps right into, a chase, and he's got like the sheriff and dogs after him and all this different stuff. And you're very obviously like in the bayou, somewhere in, outside of Nolans or something like that, Louisiana. And it was immediately evoking like just images of, Anne Rice stuff and whatnot. And so he's trying to find somewhere to hide, and he gets to this beautiful mansion, like an estate of sorts, and there's this old woman who's living there by herself. And she's played by Rachel Tickerton. Yeah, that's right. And she's been seen as kind of a BA lady in a lot of different stuff, playing either like a soldier type or a cop or, things like that. She was in Falling Down, which was, goodness gracious, such an amazing performance. I mean, possibly my favorite performance ever by Michael Douglas. And she's a cop along with Robert Duvall in that. Great movie. Not scary, but great movie. She was also in Total Recall, man. Yeah, great. Also Con Air. So the lady's got some acting chops, and she's tough, but she's not really playing a tough lady in this, She's been stuck in this home for a great long time, and I can't really reveal why that is the case because that would get spoilerific, and the twist is actually one of the best things in this episode as far as the writing goes. And so, D.B. Sweeney I always think of from, goodness gracious, Fire in the Sky. That is one of the scariest alien movies ever made. Like, that scene up aboard that ship, goodness gracious, especially for the sheer fact that it was based on a logger that was allegedly kidnapped here in Arizona, like based on true events, man. Goodness, scary, scary stuff. So, yeah, you got 2 great performances by these 2. And then another cool little, I guess, cameo of sorts, because he's just playing the sheriff and he pops in and out. But Arlie or May, man, yeah, that's right, that crazy Sarge from Full Metal Jacket, you know everything, it only comes from Texas and all that crap. But I honestly always think of him more so as the coach who had a very scary hookup in the movie Saving Silverman. But hey, man, love is love. So this episode, great makeup work. Good acting performances. We see the return for the third time of director Stephen Hopkins, who did Nightmare 5 and did the very underrated Predator 2 and also Ghost in the Darkness. And then he did stuff like Lost in Space that was scary for other reasons. But yeah, he directed Tales from the Crypt episodes twice before. He did one of my absolute favorites ever, Abracadabra, and then he did another one that was just okay called Beauty Rest with Mimi Rogers. But yeah, it's well directed, the makeup effects are good, and the performances are very solid. So yeah, at the end of the day, it was pretty evident that of the 3 episodes in this segment, it was going to be the bueno. So let's jump into the malo, the bad one, man. Yeah, and this is called The Assassin. Yeah, and everybody knows that, whereas that last tale was from the Vault of Horror, this one is from the Shock Suspense Stories. And it's directed by Martin von Hasselberg, who, if you don't know, is half of the Kipper Kids, I believe they're called. I don't know, man. They were a interesting duo, like New York/London duo that did like performance, comedy, music, craziness. They're in UHF with Weird Al Yankovic, so that should really give you the indication of, what they had in store and what they've done in the past. And I guess the guy's also married to Bette Midler. Kind of crazy. So yeah, first time director for Tales from the Crypt, didn't do anything else after that, and just talking about his reputation really is indicative of the oddball weirdness that we have. This is another Tales from the Crypt that just the whole tone of it I thought was strange and kind of silly, and got the stay-at-home housewife played by Shelley Hack, who she was in the first Troll, not to be confused with the classic Troll 2, but yeah, she was also in The Stepfather, and she was like a replacement on Charlie's Angels in one of the later seasons, I don't know. But so yeah, she's the stay-at-home housewife, and a bunch of killers just show up at her house saying, hey, check it out, your husband is a former like contract killer, government killer guy in hiding. And she's like, no, that's not my husband, and blah 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 blah. And so yeah, these guys are played by, you've got like Corey Feldman, and you got like one of the Frog Brothers, and he was in Gremlins, and he was also that Jarvis kid in the 4th and briefly in the 5th Friday the 13th. And then you've also got the chick who is Tila in the 80s Masters of the Universe, an amazing movie. Yeah, very underrated. Courtney Cox, you are so hot, Courtney Cox. I love you. Still do, by the way, even if David Arquette doesn't anymore. And so yeah, you got this crazy troop of peeps on there, and they're holding her hostage, waiting for the husband to come home. And the twist is, it's pretty bad. Yeah, pretty bad. Kind of unexpected. Might be one of the only redeeming qualities of this very whacktastic episode. But Scott Nimmerfro, again, writing, and I've mentioned a few times here in the later episodes of this coverage, he is a go-to in these final couple seasons of Tales from the Crypt as far as like screenplaying goes. I think he ends up doing like nearly a dozen episodes or something like that in the last few seasons. So he did the amazing Werewolf Concerto, and then he did the not-so-good Oils Well That Ends Well. But he also did The Bribe earlier in this 6th season, which is a killer episode, and I think was, if I recall, was my bueno just the other day here in this particular coverage. So also got to at least briefly mention the presence of Jonathan Banks in it. Everybody knows him from the Emmy-nominated work on both Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. But yeah, I mean, despite all of this acting talent, and it was just, the tone is weird. I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I think some people might actually really dig this Tales from the Crypt, and I've even read a few like bits online about those who really loved it. But for me, it's definitely the malo today, easily, hands down. I guess, maybe this last one that we're going to discuss might have... It honestly, now that I think about it, guys, it could have gone either way. So let's get into the Feo, so I can't change my mind, right? And the Feo is an episode called In the Groove. Yeah, that's right. And you know how much, look at his hair, man. You can tell that I'm a guy who likes to groove and loves my music and stuff. And it's actually directed by a guy that we've seen acting on Tales from the Crypt before, which is kind of cool how once again, they did this segue here. They also did a similar switcheroo with Kyle MacLachlan, who was originally in the Carrie and Death episode starring, and then later on directed the As You Sow episode. So yeah, man, you got Vincent Spano, who was in that Two for the Show, which was actually a damn good episode of Tales from the Crypt, and one of the few, like, crime shock ones that I can vouch for being totally awesome and worthwhile. And so he's actually behind the camera in this one. Hasn't really directed a lot of stuff, acted more in things like, you know, the Prophecy 3 and, you know, that aforementioned Crypt episode. But yeah, so he's behind the camera in this one, and he's directing a dude that we've seen twice before on Tales from the Crypt already, Mr. Miguel Ferrer, man. And this guy is a badass, whether it's in The Stand or The Night Flyer or, I mean, Deep Star 6. I always love mentioning that movie. I can't recall if I mentioned it in the previous episode that he was in. And the two previous that he was in, most notably, I have to make mention of The Thing from the Grave, because that episode is just killer, directed by Fred Decker. And so, yeah, you've got some talent in this one. Miguel Ferrer, you've got that idiot old aging model from Just Shoot Me as his sister. I believe her name is Wendy Malick. But you've also got like a weird cameo from Slash, and the reason Slash is in there is because Miguel Ferrer's character is playing a disc jockey who is, man, sagging ratings. He's kind of doing this sex talk line thing, and it's totally just not nobody's calling, nobody cares, and Slash like kind of talks smack to him, and I mean, really horrible acting. Feo acting, Slash. It's so bad. Stick to shredding on that guitar, homie. I love GNR, and I'm very excited about the talk of this, you know, full-on reunion. That would not be scary. That would be bueno. But nonetheless, he ends up encountering Mr. Ferrer, this chick who's like, I've been a fan of yours since like the Pittsburgh days or something like that, and I want to help you like have a resurgence and really get back to, you know, the top of the game. And this one wasn't written by anybody of noteworthiness. It was a dude named Jack Temchin, I believe, who I originally was thinking was this dude who helped out with the Eagles or something. But no, it's a guy who did just like a little bit of work for Freddy's Nightmares and then this, and that's about it. So nothing to write home about there. It gets Feo because you've got this nasty sibling rivalry going down, and they're both kind of, you know, fighting over this station that their deceased mother left them. And the twist is, well, it's, I really don't know if I'd call it, you know, Malo or Feo. It's kind of a little bit of both. It's pretty expected. This is another one from the crime suspense stories. And if you watched any of these reviews before, you know my thoughts on those. So yeah, this one is Feo for some good reasons and some bad reasons. So it's, I mean, hey, Miguel Ferrer brings it in everything that he does in my estimation. The guy's awesome. And so just seeing him on screen is good. Slash is good for a laugh at how terrible and Feo his acting is. But yeah, I can't really mention too much more because it gets kind of twisty-turny, and yeah, it's just an okay episode. So here at the end of this segment, guys, I gotta mention the very first one, that Stairway to Horror is actually very good, very solid, definitely one of the strongest episodes of Tales from the Crypt here in the 6th season, where you can really start to feel the quality waning, and I think I even said that like sometime during last season, during season 5. So there was only one more after this, and we're about halfway through, maybe even more than halfway through the 6th one here. So yeah, just a few segments left, 6 more, and then I get to tackle those Tales from the Crypt movies. So I extend a grande gracias to you guys, anyone who's tuning in and watching this. Doesn't matter if it's October or any other time of the year. I've had fun discussing Tales from the Crypt, and I'm almost it's kind of bittersweet and sad that the coverage is nearly done. So I've been Jaime En Fuego. You can find me covering horror all the time just at the Horror Show channel. That's right. Just search the Horror Show channel on YouTube or at thehorrorshowchannel.com, just like you're seeing it spelled below. And then you can find me on all social media covering the hottest entertainment with an edge constantly. Musica, cinema, a little bit of everything, just at Jaime En Fuego, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and obviously here on YouTube. And I look forward to seeing you guys mañana for more coverage of Tales from the Crypt. Shout out, Mr. Kassir. You're the shiznit bam, snip, snap, schnit. And until then, guys, stay scared.